Hey everybody, we are live on Facebook Live. Sean Ventura here, the host of the Lights Camera Pro podcast. I'm here with Chris Lumzer, who is the host of the Longcoat Mafia podcast. And I am partnering with Restream. You can see their logo right here. I'm going to play a little ad and tell you about it right now. And then there's an affiliate link, a referral link in the Facebook Live post if you want to check out their website. But here's their ad. Restream will let you go to several different platforms at once. I can only go to Facebook Live right now, but Restream lets you go to Facebook and not Instagram, Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, all at the same time. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, go check out the referral link on the page. So thanks for doing this, Chris. How are you, man?
No problem. I'm doing all right. Just a little tired. I tend to have a weird schedule during the weekend, which leads to have a weird schedule during the week. So
Yeah.
and it's all due to a 9 to 5. So
Yeah. So we're going to talk about your podcast, how you started your podcast. Then we're going to talk about gaming. We're going to talk about some of your guests that you've had, some comedians. And I want to know who Sasha, the Prince of Darkness is. I listened to a little bit of that. And then we're going to talk about how you promote your website, your ads, if you have a Facebook page, how you get your guests, all these questions that podcasters have. But I'm also just interested in your website in general. So if you can just tell me how you came up with the name for the podcast and how you started it, that would be awesome.
I came up with the name as the history behind that is about, I want to say, close to 9, maybe 10 years ago. I just lost my 9 to 5 during that time, and I thought it would be kind of a nifty idea to come up with like a street promotion team. And I thought the fact that having a name like Longcoat Mafia would be a kind of a standout name to do it. And everything would be just on the up and up, nothing, harsh or anything like that. And it was going nowhere. And a buddy of mine, whom I shall call Big Candy, that because he's my actual co-host on a lot of my shows, he kind of said, you know what, we should start up a podcast again. And I said, you know what, I should do that. I should run it. I should take care of it. This time, instead of you being kind of the front person and me just being the mouth, I should take care of everything. And here it was, Longcoat Mafia was just sitting there doing nothing. It was all set up. And I was like, you know what? It's there. Use it. Just transfer it over to a podcast theme and just kind of go from there and just develop it from there. And when I was thinking of it, I realized there were a lot of sci-fi and geeky things that have that long coat trope, from westerns to, the evil scientist to comic books and so forth and so on. You always see them having this type of like long coats, and long coats are like lab coats, dusters, just general stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, there's that. But the only downside I found out is just, I won't say found out. It's just that one of those things that from the past, we had this whole instance with the trench coat mafia.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute. When I started this, it was about, that whole incident was 15 years gone by, but with today's climate, the if I may say so politely, the riffraff keep coming back to that reference point, thus digging everything back up. And it's like, wait a minute, here I am trying to promote positivity where everybody's kind of included, because pop culture, even though it's mainstream and it's popular and it's kind of stylish to be a geek, the old school folks and a lot of aspects, the geeks are still kind of pushed away. They don't feel like they're part of anybody. I'm like, you could be a part of us. Be a part of the Mafia. Be our goons. Be strong.
Right.
Be happy. You're part of our family. I.e., the whole aspect of Godfather and that sort of thing. The Goodfellas. Like, be a part of the family.
Okay.
Trying to promote the fam before every YouTuber out there was going, yeah, you're a member of the fam. Well, I don't say fam. You're a part of our family. There's a difference.
Right.
So,
Very cool. And so I see you've got. I like the logo. It's obviously the Godfather logo, but it says the Long Coat Mafia. And where do you make your swag, and where can they get your swag? Is it just on your website
right now,
or your merch?
we don't have any swag. This is the only. Again, my co-host had a connection,
Ah,
and he
okay.
got it done for free, and his way to kind of promote the show. That way I have something with the show's name on it. We're not that big right now. We're still a very small independent show. Um, and we could get into that a little bit later as
Mm,
why I like that, but I keep trying to grow and trying to. I think in a way it kind of hurts us, but in a way I like it because being this multifaceted geek podcast, it allows me to do so much and teach so many people about different things.
right. Cool. So you have to tell me. I was going through your Facebook page. You have to tell me about Sasha, the Prince of Darkness. Who is that?
Princess,
Princess. Right.
must correct you about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sasha has been over the past couple of months a regular guest host on our show. She is a to be more specific, a male to female transgender person, and she is passionate about who she is and what she stands for, and she is more than willing to help us out. So I'm more than happy to bring her in because we share a lot of the same topics and interests. So therefore, like in this current week's show, she was on to talk about the Snyder cuts and these other directors saying, "Hey, we have our own type of quote unquote Snyder cut," and our other co-host George, who came on, we all wanted to talk about these cuts, and it just, as with speaking with her and being on her streams on YouTube, things just rapidly devolved, to discussing other topics at hand, from Disney to independent movies and the independent theater scenes that still have the sticky floors that we would be more than happy to see Godzilla movies and Kung Fu movies on the weekends.
Right. Right. And when you say Snyder cut, you mean like Zack Snyder, Justice League, the director's cut? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
to let your viewers kind of in on it, is this, since Justice League came out, there has been this mythical rumor of a Snyder cut, which is I'm not going to age you or anything like that, but there was a Superman movie. I think it was Superman 2. They changed directors, and in recent years, the Donner cut came out because he was the original director on that.
Okay.
And therefore, this is a similar ordeal, meaning that Zack Snyder had to leave production of the Justice League, and somebody else took over, and everybody wanted to see Zack Snyder's cut of the movie. And a lot of people were saying it's legit, it's not legit, it's legit, it's not legit. And apparently with HBO Max doing their own streaming thing, they said, hey, we got the Snyder cut. Come to our platform and you'll watch it. And therefore, once that's hit, you had other directors saying, hey, we have a 3-hour cut of this. We have a 2.5-hour cut of this.
Okay.
And it just sounded like a lot of what we termed on the show AOL Me Too. Whereas everybody said, hey, I got one too.
Yeah.
And it just sounded stupid. Like everybody was jumping on the bandwagon.
Right. And where are you? Where are you in the United States?
I am in the eastern West Virginia Panhandle, the Martinsburg area, along the I-81 corridor.
Okay, West Virginia.
So, yeah, in essence, we're along with Maryland, it's one of those instances, if you blink, you'd miss us.
Right.
No one really wants to stop in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Okay. So, what equipment are you using for your podcast, and what's your hosting service?
My hosting service is Podbean. I've been with them for the past going on 5 years. They were a recommendation from me from a podcast I used to listen to many years ago that is now defunct. Um, and the equipment I use is when I do a multi-host show, I use the current Zoom. I think it's 800 or something like that. It's a six mic port type of ordeal for XLR microphones. But for the most part, if it's just me, I use, to put it on camera, this little workhorse, which I got for about $40 on Amazon 5 years ago. It's a CAD U37 microphone. It's USB condenser mic. Um, right now, it goes for about $70 on Amazon. But as I tell a lot of new podcasters, if you need to go cheap, which the mic was 5 years ago, go cheap. You build up your. You don't have to go expensive right away, because I hear a lot of arguments on Facebook groups in regards to which mics are the best. Buy this $300 mic, buy
Yeah,
this
yeah.
$200 mic. You don't really, if you're just starting out, if you got a mic on your laptop, use that if need be until you're able to get the funds to that next level, and just grow if need be. And I've kept this mic with me for solo shows and as a backup. Like I have another mixer I keep as a backup just in case something goes wrong. And I'd rather have that instead of, oops, this went wrong. I have nothing to record. We're done for the week until I get something else.
Right. And when you're recording, are you recording remotely with your guests and your co-host, or are they in your house or your apartment?
My apartment is I don't want to say a studio. It's an efficiency place, which means anybody beyond myself doesn't work. So at times I have to do it remotely, like we are right now through
Yeah.
Skype. But if my co-host Big Candy is available, I go to a local coffee shop that has a free conference room. We have coffee. We do a full setup. My whole show is designed to be portable, which means if I want to do remote stuff at a convention or or any other type of event, or wherever I so choose, if I choose to do it at my buddy's house, we could do it there.
Right. And you said you're using Windows. Are you using a laptop?
I'm using Hewlett Packard laptop. I'm not exactly sure what model it is.
Okay.
Um, what I used to use when I first started, I laughingly refer to as a potato, because this one that I'm currently using is about a year and change old right now, and it's way better than that. I mean, I'm able to stream if need be on platforms like Mixer and Twitch, and even YouTube if need be now. So that's an extra tool in my wheelhouse if need be.
Right. And what are you recording to? Are you recording straight into Audacity or straight into Twitch, or what are the Skype calls going to?
I learned through YouTube. I record when I do my audio. I record into Audacity, and I use Voicemeter, and I use I think it's a kind of an internal. It's a software that mimics a wire
Mm-hmm.
from the laptop to the program, which allows me to record my Skype audio. And I still have to figure out how to get rid of some of the clicks, because they come in every now and again. And I've been laughingly referring to them as the ghost of Tony the Fish.
Right.
Kind of go with the Mafia theme of it until I figure out, I should be putting up poems like, do we call him Tony the Fish or Jimmy the Snitch? Or,
Right.
folks at home,
Jimmy
let me
two
know.
times.
Yeah, something like that. Give me, it's still a way to promote audience reaction, or audience participation in the show. So there's that aspect, but it took me a while to figure things out in regards to how to tweak the software settings just right, so I'm able to record record the audio. But apparently there has been some weird goofs, like in our interview with artist Rusty Gilligan, he came in fine, but on my end there was these weird audio glitches somehow, and I usually find out that these glitches come in right after a Windows update. And that's always been a problem with me. Like with software OS updates, you could have everything just perfect, and once the updates come in, every setting you did has just been annihilated. And I'm like, I don't like updates. Please don't give me any more updates.
Yeah.
So,
I use Ecamm Live, and it's $15 a month, and it enables me to have different scenes, so I can put you, by yourself, or I could put myself. But well, I don't have that anymore because I got an ad there. But you can switch around. It has sound effects. You can put a green screen. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with Ecamm Live. And then I also was telling you about Restream, which I'm excited to try next week. Next week, I'm going to be able to go to Facebook Live with Restream and schedule it and have it go to like 6 platforms at once. Because a lot of this work is doing it just to Facebook Live and then going to several different platforms. But at the very end, Chris, what I do is I turn it into an audio podcast by using this thing called Ecamm Call Recorder. It's a $40 one-time fee, and that will split out the tracks. I'm a video editor by trade, so I like to have the track split, and it's easier to edit and move stuff around and delete, just your voice. And I edit in Adobe Audition. I tried Audacity, I tried GarageBand, and they just weren't clicking for me. So Audition.
see, if I may interrupt,
Yeah.
that's the thing for me. What I try to advocate because of my financial situation, I've always been on the very below the kind of the financial thing. I make no more than 20 grand a year. So it's between the 10, my last job kept me closer to the 10 grand a year. So I've learned everything with my show to be on a very strict budget.
Right.
So I've learned to do everything on the cheap or save up for that next level of equipment. So that's what usually pisses off a lot of folks, again, in these Facebook groups, when I tell them, listen, you could do everything on the cheap, if not at all. Work yourself up, because if you might have the money now, but not have the money tomorrow. So please, if you need, I tell folks, if you need a little bit of advice, use Audacity if you need be. Work yourself up to that next audio. If you're not comfortable with that audio stuff that has different tracks and everything else, don't go with it. Go with something simple. There is GarageBand. There is Audacity. And I tell folks, like, listen, will go into advertising, I use flyers that I have. I have 5 different flyers. 300 cost me like $30. That's cheap. For me, for someone that works under the poverty line at $12,000 a year, $30 for 300 flyers. And if I'm able to get a booth at a convention or a show or a location I'm able to set up or allowed to set up, that's easy promotion. That's very cheap, that you're able to hand somebody something physical. And what I also, as I said, my podcast is designed to be mobile. Even with one mic, with the laptop and the one mic, hey, sit down with me, let's talk. And it allows me to, as most people don't like them, have that aspect of a Steven Crowder change my mind aspect, with one mic sitting between me and somebody else and talk about what their passion is, what they're geek about. It allows me to get more of a one-on-one. And again, some people in some of the Facebook communities in regards to podcasting don't like that, because it's very low-key, very simple, and it somehow it pisses them off. And I like that.
No, I get that. I mean, I totally agree with you. I interviewed a couple of people. This Bubble Bath Stories, they're out of New York, Queens, New York. They just use Anchor and their phones. So Anchor is a free app that people can use, and they just use their phones. So they don't even buy a microphone. So everything's free. And then before I started getting into video podcasting, Chris, which has an incredible reach. Like if you go and post this to Facebook Live, you're going to get 200 to 500 views and probably 200 people engaged every time just by going live because it goes to the top of the thing. So when I was just doing audio for my first 35 podcasts, I used the software called Clean Feed, which is out of Australia, and it's free, and it's in the browser, and you just connect the person through email, either by their phone or computer. The computer works better; you get better sound with a computer, but it's more of an ISD line. It's a higher quality line than Skype. I'm using Skype right now just because I want a video, but and you can use Zoom and all this other stuff. But to do Cisco WebEx, I think Cisco WebEx actually just went free too. That's what they use for CNN, and that used to be cost money, but now it's free to do Cisco WebEx. So I might try out with that. But the video podcasting reaches a lot more people, and I was talking to these Canadian guys to do a sports podcast the other day, and they said they go down to their local pub and do a podcast, and they get more views and more people checking it out just from being at a local pub talking sports.
That's the thing with me, with a lot of businesses around here, and I let them know that, hey, I'm a podcaster or anything like that. Now, mind you, the coffee shop is more than happy to have us there, happy to have us record and promote. We don't have a deal with them. I'm just happy to say, hey, we're at this coffee shop, and stop on down and have a cup of coffee. It's local. You're supporting local business because it is a mom and pop shop. And I usually say, hey, we're sponsored, not sponsored by these people, because they are providing us a location to record for free. But that some of the businesses that are even local are, when I say, hey, I'm a podcast, it's, no, we don't really want you here. And I think I could go whole tinfoil hat and, take this off and put a aluminum foil hat on in regards to why. To say it briefly is because I think the local city council does not like me in the late in any way, because there are a few bullies. I'm not going to go into it. So I do clash heads with the local city council because they don't like my opinions. Personally, I think they should be doing better, and they're not. So that's as far as I'll go into that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Let me ask you a question. We were talking offline about Twitch, because I'm trying to get into Twitch right now. I'm in Facebook Live, I'm in YouTube Live, and I'm in LinkedIn Live. But I want to do Twitch, and you have done some live streaming to Twitch, correct?
Yes. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been neglecting it. I usually get in the mood to do it, and sometimes, for the most part, I'm not. Recently, I haven't been doing it because I've been concentrating of recording some game footage on my laptop, so I'm able to sync it up with my podcast and post it up to YouTube. Podbean still offers the aspect of posting your show, meaning if you're a person like me that uses Podbean as a hosting service, you're able to post your episodes up to YouTube. But with current YouTube idiocy, if you don't mind, because they tend to do idiotic things on the flim of the hat and they don't tell anybody. It seems like every fifth episode over the past couple of months, if not that, or every 10th episode, it gets posted up. And there's a few episodes I would like to have on YouTube for folks to listen to. And because there's also a lot of folks on YouTube, they have gameplay footage over a commentary, or a commentary over gameplay footage. I've been recording some gameplay footage, so I'm able to put those episodes to that and post everything up to YouTube as kind of like what you've been missing. But I should be getting back into Twitch because it's easy for my consoles to do that, at least my Xbox One. I think my PS4 is able to do it too, but if need be, I'm able to stream my Xbox One to my console, then to Twitch as a mediator. Sorry, folks, rented lips. As a mediator
right.
to Twitch. But for the most part, if I'm just want to not really have my gaming headset on and speaking to the mic, but just showcase what I'm playing. I just tell my console, connect me to my Twitch account, and I play for sometimes an hour, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. But I haven't been doing that because the game I've been playing, I've been kind of losing interest in. But
What is the game? Is it Borderlands or something else?
it's been Borderlands 3.
Okay.
As kind of a little bit on the higher end of the casual gamer aspect of things, there's been aspects, and I'll be going into that. I have planned with Sasha over the next couple of weeks of doing the review of the new Guardian Takedown and new DLC that's coming out over the next couple of days. But in that episode, I'll be going into why my disappointment is right now with Borderlands is because I've been drastically disappointed in how Gearbox has been treating the game, how they haven't been fixing it, and how kind of toxic some of the fan base has been in regards to it. And it's just pushing me off, and I'm right now trying to find another game to play on Twitch to kind of have fun and still be able to play on Twitch.
And I used to work for Turner Broadcasting, and they did this thing called E-League. And I did some promos for them, so I was kind of watching Twitch and looking at Twitch. And it's been about a year, maybe a year and a half. Would Twitch people be interested in an interview show? Or are they interested in just or podcasts? Or are they just interested in gaming stuff?
It's still, from what I gather, I want to say about 3-4 years ago, it was maybe about 98% gaming. But since their introduction to kind of Bob, what happened was, I think 3 or 4 years ago, on Bob Ross's birthday, for those who are too young to remember, Bob Ross is a very, he taught painting, and he was very mellow. He had this voice that would instantly relax you.
Yeah.
And Twitch decided, let's put Bob Ross episodes on on the channel, because they did, allow like tabletop gaming and art, people who painted art onto Twitch. That's why I said about 90%, 95% gaming. And the gamers that really watched gameplay videos flocked to Bob Ross, and we're talking about a demographic on this platform that's mostly under 18. Granted, you still have a lot of folks 18 and older watching it and participating in the platform, but it's mostly 18 and younger. And what Twitch stated that, and people found out, is that these kids were watching Bob Ross, and they were completely fascinated in regards to what he was doing. They'd see him make a mistake or a happy accident, if you will, and they were like, "Oh my God, he got pwned," and they're like, "No, he's back," and it was just mad, like,
people were into Bob Ross on
really,
Twitch.
Like, the younger generation is really into Bob Ross, and it opened the door up. I want to say it opened the door up mostly for podcasters and like what we do is, something video related or occasionally video related. And that being said, it might be a growing instance that it's a better way. Me personally, it's that like most platforms of the ilk, like YouTube, you have to constantly be on Twitch. And that's one of the things I've noticed, is because when I started playing Borderlands daily for a few hours, granted it was just one person watching, but still, the more you put on YouTube, more you put on Twitch on a daily basis. If you stream 2 times a day, you put 2 videos up a day on YouTube. YouTube sees, the algorithms see that, and they promote you more.
Yes.
As you said, with you probably have a bigger audience than I do, because you have that bigger audience. Once you start Facebook streaming and you Facebook stream daily or weekly, you get closer to that top.
Yep.
So it's.
Do you know who Gary Vee is?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, so he's kind of like a Tony Robbins self-help guy. He's
Okay.
all about the Twitter. He's all about the Instagram, and he says that you should post 60 pieces of content a day if you want to be successful online. And he did an experiment with Twitch. He usually goes, I think, to Facebook or LinkedIn. Maybe LinkedIn. He goes to LinkedIn Live every day and does this chat for an hour with all different entrepreneurs, right? But he went on Twitch, and
I think I
people,
know who you mean now.
yeah, he's like a white guy, shorter. He's got some white in his hair right here, but
Yeah.
yeah, he went on Twitch, and the reaction, he was like, "I'm going on Twitch every day." The reaction were like hundreds and thousands of people in the comments reacting to him and in his discussion with entrepreneurs. And he's like, "What's going on? I thought these people were all gamers. They're all interested in business and starting a business online and entrepreneurship and blah blah blah." So now he's daily on Twitch, but it's kind of weird what resonates, like you said, with Bob Ross coming out of nowhere, that the Twitch users would love him.
That's usually the thing with the aspect of the internet is that um, the internet is one of these folks that they can be fun, creative, or they can be extremely toxic. And what most, unless you have a big, I'm not knocking Gary Vee in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
but the thing is, if you have a strong following, uh, again, to use Gary Vee as an example, again, not knocking the guy, he's very successful, and I've liked what he said. If we're thinking of the same person, I've liked what he said, and he has a lot of good ideas. But if you have a strong following, whether it be Gary Vee, Adam Carolla, or whomever, if you have a strong following and you go from your own from Twitch to YouTube, you bring that following over to that platform. And once you do, what tends to happen is you get almost close to the top of that list, and the other people that are on that platform see that, hey, you have 2K people, 10K people watching you, 20K people watching you. They're going to go, all right, who's this person that, that's new on the platform yet has 20,000 people watching them? So they go. It's one of those frustrating things for someone like myself that either may not have the time to constantly be on Twitch
Mm-hmm.
for 3, 4, 5 hours, or post up 4 videos a day like some YouTubers might do, or post up weekly like other YouTubers might do. I might not have that time to invest 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day in making videos and content, but I might have only a few hours a day to do a podcast. But that in the long run hurts me in order to get more word out. And seeing that aspect is kind of frustrating and fun because it allows me to be a little bit more independent than other folks.
Right. But think about this, because this is what I'm thinking about. I was just doing an audio podcast. That's it. It's just going to Apple and Google and Stitcher, right? So it's just me and my voice, and I'm interviewing directors, actors, writers, cinematographers, people in advertising, people who do podcasts also, but basically entertainment people. And then I go to just YouTube, and there's a reaction there, and then I go to Facebook. Now, what if you and I know it costs money, and I'm not trying to get you or anybody else to spend money, but what if, just hypothetically, what if your podcast, every time you do it, because you've got the Princess of Darkness and you've got your other co-hosts, you've got some interesting people, right? What if your podcast, every time you do it, goes live to YouTube, live to Facebook, live to Twitch? You know what I'm saying? Live to LinkedIn. So now you're reaching that many more people, and even if you only have a couple people at each place, and like you said, if you continue to do it more, and you're not worried about, because we spend a lot of time editing the audio, correct? And we spend a lot of time publishing it. This is different. You just do it and it's done. Now, I do take these podcasts and turn them into audio later, but you don't have to. You could just leave it as is and move on to the next one. What do you think about
Uh,
that?
that's the thing is that, again, I've done live stuff on YouTube. even if it was like once a week in the past. I've done a couple of stuff there. It barely gets traction. Barely. I barely see two people hop in on it. I barely, if not at all. There is, with my Facebook page, I could post up videos onto, like, I'll put up a YouTube video and I'll also put it up on, like, Facebook as well. That way I have more of a reach. I'd get more of a reach on YouTube, and when it comes to Facebook, nothing. Nothing. I'll get no reach,
Really?
no views. Sometimes on YouTube, I'll get 3 views and no views on YouTube. And it's just very, very weird. And like with some people, like I could talk to someone like yourself, and you might share the interview that let's say you and I did an interview for my show.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably share that, and I'll see a 50, 60, because I'm very that independent, I'm that small. I could see a spike of maybe 100 people listening to that episode. But if I have somebody else that might be on, and I let them know, like I interviewed David Nickel, who appeared on Arrow as kind of like the Russian mob boss, and he was also on Stargate for many years. And I kind of contacted him saying, hey, our interview from the show is up. Just like, if you want to hear the links, if you like to share them, please share. Didn't share diddly squat. I've had other celebrities that I've interviewed, like, hey, you mind sharing this? Here's the links that we did. I'd be happy if you share it. Not a peep. Yet I'd get folks like I interviewed independent artist, what was his name? I think it's like David Lennox, something like that. He's been sharing my stuff like crazy. He's been promoting, like, hey, I was on this episode like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's one of my episodes this year, even though we're midway through the year, that's over 100 downloads.
Right.
And yet other people like Sasha might promote, George might promote, but it barely gets traction.
But let me ask you this. Have you done a Facebook Live to your Facebook page, which has like 500 followers?
It has 500 followers now. I only seen that spike in the past 6 months. So I have yet to.
But you haven't done a Facebook Live. I would just say try that.
Recently. It over the past 6 months. I wouldn't say over the past 3 months. It has doubled. Because at one point, for the past 5 years, excluding this year, it was sitting at about 200. So it increased over 300 followers in the past 6 months. And I have to get in the aspect of adjusting a couple of things, because granted, it's a bad habit, but it was a habit born out of the following I had in the past, where if I put a live or did something live, it's that whole ordeal of I barely get attraction because my following was only at 200. Now that it's closer to 500, it might get more of attraction. But then again, my interaction with the audience on Facebook is, I'm lucky if I post up something today, whether it be a meme to listen or an article that I'm briefly commentating on, will get a reach of maybe about at most 50, but it will barely get any type of reaction, i.e. a thumbs up, a smile, or what have you.
Right.
It barely gets touched.
Right. So let me ask you this, because this is interesting. Because you do have you have 500 people following on Facebook. That is no easy task. Okay, and you've had an episode that has 100 downloads. I've heard of people doing this stuff for a year and they have 100 downloads. So let me just ask you this: do you love what you do? Do you love doing this?
That's why I'm still continuing, because even though I have my doubts, my days and weeks that I have that burnout, because I've been doing it for almost 5 years. But here's the thing. As you said, I have close to 500 followers on Facebook. On Podbean, I have over 1,200 followers.
Right.
On Twitter, I have over 300. On Instagram, I have over 200. I could post up stuff cross-platform on each. Right now, guess how many downloads for this week's episode I have? 16. 16. Last week, I barely hit 15.
You know what? This is really interesting because I used to get crazy with the numbers in the beginning too, but think about it. Like, think about how many times you listen to a podcast. I love podcasts. I'm subscribed to like 30 on my iPhone. I listen to 2 or 3 a week, right? Because you're so busy. But you have to think of it in this way. If you get 1,000 people who view your post, maybe that's 50, maybe it's 25 that download it, because even though they view it, and this goes back to I was talking to a performer, Mark Kendall, who did a show at a theater, and he was like, one night we had 30 people. It's like, I wanted to go see that show. I know this guy. I've seen him do stand up. I've seen him do improv. I love his stuff. He's hilarious. And I just couldn't get to a show. It was a show about Magic and Bird. It was a comedy show about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson at a theater. So many people want to listen to your stuff. They just don't get around to it because they're busy. Maybe they're even subscribed, but they haven't downloaded. And then the people that do, do you agree with the idea that if you help 10 people a week, that it's worth it?
To me, yes. Yes. As much as I would love to see it, and it brightens my day to cross that 100 download threshold. I know we'll be talking about advertising in a bit, to kind of quickly touch on that. Because my downloads are so low, I can't qualify for any type of Podbean monetization or anything like that because of that. And because I'm a little bit sketched, I wouldn't say when it comes to like getting a local sponsor, as much as I would like to have the Daily Grind, which is the coffee shop we record at, be a sponsor of maybe at least paying to keep the lights on, so to speak, $10 a month. But the thing is, if my reach goes as far as Alaska, who's going to, come down to the Daily Grind in the armpit of America and West by God, Virginia? That's not going to happen. So my process is like, I'm more than welcome to have them be a sponsor, but I tell them, it's like, listen, I would love to have you as a sponsor, but you have to think of this. If my reach goes as far as Alaska or California, who's going to come here to visit you? And it's like, I'm not knocking them because they make good coffee,
right?
But
no, I totally get that, Chris. But listen to this for a second. What you can do for free, okay, is you can do promo swaps. So you can find a similar show and say, hey, if you like this show, listen to my show, and just make like a little 15, 30-second ad. And you can do that with another podcaster, and that's free. And if you're really, really adamant about it, you could do it with 20 podcasters and have your show advertised then. And then as far as guests, I had some guys from Canada, and I had a woman from the UK last week. And my numbers in the UK and Canada have gone up a lot. So that works. And now the woman from the UK who does this Nurture Your Zest podcast wants me to be on her show. So if you went on other people's shows as a guest, if you do promo swaps, and also I think just interviewing people internationally. I don't know if you know this woman, her name's Mayan Gordon, and she's on LinkedIn Live. I think she's in Utah or Idaho, some in the middle of nowhere place. And she interviews people from India and China and Japan all day long, I think once a day. And she has a huge international audience because she just keeps reaching out. It's like a spider web. It just keeps going and going. So it's really interesting to see what you can do and what you can do for free. And, if Podbean's getting too expensive, like I said, people do Anchor, and Anchor's free.
To me, the $10 a month, it's on the flack that I got from one podcaster on Facebook. I don't remember who he was, and it's like, listen, I do think I'm way under the poverty line. Some days it's very tight, and their response to me, because I don't remember if it was a he or a she, oh, well, then you should stop podcasting. No, I love what I do, and I budget for the $10 a month that Podbean is, because I know there's other platforms that may provide a similar plan or better plan, but it costs more, maybe closer to the $15-$20 range. And I'm like, I might not afford a $20 a month plan, but I can afford $10. If I have that yearly fee, I could get the yearly fee on Podbean, which reduces it. I save $12, or if not a little bit more than a year, because it takes everything down
Right.
to $9. But that's just me. It's like, but I'm comfortable with the $10 a month. I budget that; it's part of my budget, and I enjoy what I do. And I tell folks like that might say, maybe you should get some sponsors. Maybe you can earn income. As much as I would love that to help negate the cost, that means, and part of my mind, I have to answer to them. And me, in regards to, if I want to talk what I want to talk about, and I want to approach that line, if not cross that line at times,
no, I
have to still answer to that. And that's why it's one of the conversations I had with Sasha. It's like, one of the discussions or rants I wanted to have was about somebody that I found out was transgender as well. And it was a controversy that was happening at the time. I was like, but my thought process, I want to talk about this. If things keep going on, because I'm one of the folks that I'd rather wait, instead of riding that wave, I'd rather wait until it's said and done. That way I have the complete story. And that's what I was waiting on. But everything died down. And I was like, if this keeps going, I'll get on that wave, but I'll have Sasha come in on it, because the person I'll be talking about is transgender. That way I have someone of the LGBTQ community on with me. That way, if I cross that line, I'd have somebody to say, Chris, shut up. You crossed the line. You just said something that was completely wrong, and I'm here to call you out on it. And that's why I would have someone like her on, because she would call me out on it. And that's why I have my co-host, because he's also a person that if I do something stupid, call me out on it.
Right.
And there's been times that I've done something stupid with the show that not necessarily approached the line or anything like that. Just done. It might have been described as a publicity stunt, and it somehow worked for me, or ended up in my favor. And whether it got more listens or more attention to the my Facebook page, he's the person who's like, I would not have done that, but somehow it worked for you. What the hell? Because he's one of the folks that used to kind of run house shows and promote house shows, and he was really good at it for a while. And he kind of sees that, like, local doing everything on a very low budget and promote things. So he's been my help in kind of educating me on how to promote things on a budget and kind of do things on, if you will, the punk promotion budget.
Yeah.
You kind of like to do it yourself and, make connections and grow yourself even if you're not big on big or popular, like on a Gary Vee level or Adam Kroll, you might be big on a very local level. And it's better sometimes to be big on a local level and have a reputation that way. That way, if you do step up, you bring those folks with you, or if you make a connection that is on the up and up on a local level, as the saying goes, a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
So it's that aspect of things.
That's very cool. I totally get that. And I have friends like that also. So let me just ask you one last thing, because we do these for about 45 minutes and we're about at that point.
No problem.
Can you wrap it up, Chris, with advice that you would have you've been doing this for 5+ years, advice for podcasters, like just keep doing it? Because I see a lot of posts of people like, this is a lot of work. I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. I don't know if it's worth it. I'm not getting a lot of listens. What would your advice be to a new podcaster?
I know it's going for the folks out there that are new and that are kind of hitting that wall. Trust me, bear with it, go through it, because I've hit that wall several times, including this year, even though it's, again, sounds like a cliche. Um, March this year, I put up an episode saying, "Is this the end of our show as we know it?"
Mm.
And that was because I was switching jobs at that point, going from a Monday through Friday 9 to 5, if you will, to a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday 9 to 5, if you will. And I thought my show was in essence going to the premise of a multifaceted geek podcast was going to die. I might have a few episodes in the bank to do, but I thought it was going to die. So I kind of put out that. Turns out, with the aspect of the current pandemic and that sort of thing, I got inundated with a lot of folks that I knew in my circle saying, "Hey, I want an interview. I'm stuck at home. I want an interview." And so it kind of revitalized the show in a little bit in regards to new interviews. I had a interview with a independent actress, Genoveva Rossi, very nice woman who's been in a lot of independent movies. Artist, again, Mr. Lennox, if you're listening, I doubt you are, but still, um, Rusty Gilligan, Sasha, and all these great people wanting to come on to be on the show. It was a revitalization of the show,
Right.
and I hope it continues. So please bear with it, and I hope you get that revitalization. Stick with it. To heck with the hate, because I'm sure Sean's viewers is a PG show. Heck with the haters. Don't listen to them. And if you get those aspects of because I've had it once before where I got somebody say, "Yeah, I'll be on your show. I want to be interviewed by you. Let's do this tomorrow." Tomorrow, the next day came, "Give me money," and I was like, "Hey, you know what? You didn't say that. Heck with you." So therefore, don't be afraid to say heck with you. I don't need you. I've got what I need. If not, I could get other people on my show besides you. So don't. It might make you sound like to put it politely, if I may, Sean, a butthole. But at times, you could be the nicest person on the planet. You could be Mother Teresa. You have to roll with the punches. People are going to flake with you. Give them a
Stick up
chance.
with yourself, yeah.
Just stick with yourself. You give them a chance. Give them 2 chances if need be. And on that third strike, if they flake on you, I don't need with you. I'll do something else. Yeah. And I agree with some folks that if you're able to have a backup episode, have it on the ready. Even if it's a kind of retrospective, like I've been doing with our older con stuff, or stuff that people might not be really familiar with. Do that if need be, if somebody flakes on you. That way you have something, a plan. Yeah. As us older folks might be familiar with Rocky and Bullwinkle. The character Boris once said, "I always have a plan. It might not always work, but I have one."
I have one.
And it's a great thing. So just improvise. Even if plan A is your standard plan B is improvise if needed. And one of the things I plan to do it because this is our anniversary month, which ends on our official launch date, which is July 12th of every year. What I might do is, because not many people might be familiar with our first episode, I might pull it, redo it, put our standard intro that we have right now. Thank you, Spike Reel. I do that because he passed away last year, and he did our voice for our intro for free, and he was like a person on Fiverr and all that, and a radio personality in a way. So, and he was kind enough to do that. So I always give him props when need be. I might do that in a little bit of an intro and a brand new outro, and kind of focus that, hey, this is as cringeworthy as we can get. This is our first episode. Please let us know what you think of our cringeworthy first episode. Yeah. So it's that sort of thing. Always have a plan. Always don't be afraid, even though you might be afraid.
Right. Thank you, man. This has been great. You're a great guy. I can just totally tell by talking to you. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck. And I will be posting this everywhere. It'll go Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. You put it on your channels also, and I will see you again sometime, man.
No problem, folks. And those listening, we're on pretty much all popular sites from Apple iTunes or podcasts if you are on mobile, Google Play, Spotify. We are on YouTube and Facebook. Just search for the Long Coat Mafia podcast and you'll find us.
Awesome, man. Good luck, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you. No problem.
Thanks.